Welcome to the Dummy Plug Podcast.
All right, welcome everyone to the Dummy Plug Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Gainer79. Joining me today are Unit 2.
Hello.
Asuka.
Hello.
General Iowa. Ava Mania, our site moderator.
Hello, everyone.
And joining us for the first time ever, co-author of Bleach Happy to Serve You, Hunter.
Howdy.
All right. So today we on the podcast we are going to be talking about Anime Midwest. Asuka, Unit 2, you guys both attended, as did General Iowa. We will also be discussing some fan theories today, which we'll get into in a little bit. But first, let's get into the Anime Midwest roundup. Asuka, why don't you take it away?
Okay, so Unit 2 and I finally, after a year of Unit 2 laboring on this thing, took our Unit 2, well, his Unit 2 costume to Anime Midwest. And we're entered in the inexperienced category because it's the first thing that he's ever made by hand, and it was really cool. First off, we got bumped from inexperienced to master class, which is a huge, huge, huge honor, and was...
I've never heard of that happening before.
It was an extreme honor. I'm so proud of Kamal, or Unit 2.
Who's back.
He then went on to win Best in Show, which is the best of any division of any category. So best workmanship in any category and best performance of any level. And we won.
Sorry.
What? Go on.
Which was kind of odd because I literally took 5 steps forward, raised my arms a bit, and then took a couple steps back.
It was still sick though.
The crowd went wild.
It was the coolest thing. We're gonna post videos and pictures somehow on the website, hopefully. But
as we find them,
it was sick. And that's my story. Is that it was really cool, and Unit 2 deserves some praise. So hit him up on Facebook at /rtheta. And show him some love because he really deserves it. It was like that was his child for a year, and he birthed it, and it did him proud, and he's happy about it. So
You survived getting high on resin to make that thing, folks.
Several times.
He is also very, very, very sick with bronchitis from standing and not wearing a mask. You are not fine.
I'm fine.
No, you are not fine because you were still sucking down cough drops at 1 a.m. during your panel. You're not fine, but you're alive.
I saw the video that they had up interviewing you two, and whenever Unit 2 was talking, it's like, this took a year to make and resin. And I just started busting out laughing knowing the backstory of that resin.
It was the stupidest angle that they could have possibly done. And the guy, as he was doing it, I was looking at him like, what are you doing? He's like, it's a wide angle. It won't look weird. It looks weird. It looks real weird.
Could have done fisheye.
I would
Fish
feel
eye
bad
would
for
be
He
cool.
zoomed way in. He's like, "Oh, it'll look fine." It's like, it looks dumb.
I feel
Also,
bad for anybody who does it in 3D.
If you look at that video, like I'm wearing all this stuff, I couldn't take that off. Like I was about to go on, and it's a full process to take off.
That was really irritating. That they were like, we need B-roll footage, and I was like, we're about to go do our thing. Maybe not. Maybe some other time. Maybe after. But no, overall it was nice. The guy from the Daily Herald was super nice. I shouldn't be mean. He was really, really nice. And he seemed like genuinely interested in interviewing us. So he was cool. Also, shout out to anyone that was hanging out with us at the Mask, like hanging out backstage or in our row, learning to sew on Tumblr. Those 2 girls were there and they were absolutely fantastic. They won Best in Experience. Parker, who was the Cloud that won Best Experience. Teal, who got robbed and didn't win anything, but she was an awesome Syndra. And all of the other people, there was an Aloise, there was a couple other Black Butler cosplayers. They were all really fantastic and super nice, and they all deserve shout-outs because they were really nice to us in the 9 hours we were at the masquerade. So shout out to them if they're listening. Hi, you guys are the best. I'm really glad we're friends now. Other than that, also, real quick, we shout out to the masquerade staff because they were the best. They were the absolute best. Panels. Our panels went well. The 1 a.m. one was kind of underattended, but I think that was because it was at 1 a.m.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea for us to revise that panel a little bit, make it less 18 plus.
Yeah.
It was 18 plus?
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We discussed some pretty heavy stuff.
Like we discussed without any censorship the beginning of EOE, and we just get really into it. Like more so, like we kind of skirt it in other discussions, but we'd like get into it in that. I liked how my panel went. I thought it went well.
Your panel.
I got kind of annoyed that I thought it got I was a little annoyed that it got. Excuse me, I had the hiccups. Got off topic at the end, but whatever. And I got some really awesome feedback. My panel is called Garden of Ava, and it was on Sunday at 2:30 to 4, and it was in panel room 5. So if you were there, hey, that was fun. You guys were awesome. Thanks for asking really good questions. Kamal's is called, or Unit 2's is called...
What did Gendo say? And other things you might have missed. Okay. And then we also had...
Revolution of Ava.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, little old, panel that, kind of rotates between me and Gaynor. Well, as Gaynor knows, I decided, since he wasn't going to be at this one, I said, hey, Asuka, why don't you, jump on board and, help me out with it? And why not? It's not like you don't have enough stuff to do at a con for a weekend. But, I got the unexpected surprise of, Unit 2 as well, because I had to use his computer to run the thing. And that was fun on its own. But I think the best part is that, Gaynor, you've always said that, we wouldn't necessarily, be able to, do the panel and, fill it out to the end. When we ended it, I still had like 15 people with hands in the air trying to ask us stuff. Like, we were at no shortage of people asking questions or, bringing up stuff or wanting to talk about stuff for discussion. So I'm thinking that based off that, I think we're getting to a point where if we can keep drawing more people, we're going to have no problems doing 2 hours.
Right. Well,
like we did 3 years ago.
Right. The initial thing was that I was worried that we were not going to have enough people in there asking questions to fill content.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where all the time tweaks have happened. As far as, if we get a bigger audience base where we can get more people in, then yeah, I don't mind increasing the time on that a little bit. But at the same time, I realized no one's going to sit through a 2.5 hour panel. So, it's just kind of a catch-22 of, yeah, there's a ton of people's questions, but people got stuff to do.
Yeah.
I actually think, I'd say 2 hours is the absolute upper limit, but it seems like people are interested enough in both what we have to say and like saying what they have to say that they'd stay there for 2 hours.
I feel like, especially with mine, I feel like both times I've done it, I've run out of time because people are kind of shy at first because they don't really know what is going on. Like, Kamal, or whatever. Unit 2 describes it as, like, people don't know. Like, my panel is the only one of its kind that's currently going on in the United States that I know of. Mm-hmm. Feel free to let me know. Listeners, let me know if there's something else. But it's the only one of its kind that's currently going on, so people come in and they're like, whoa, this is all totally new information to me. And so they're kind of quiet, but they warm up to it, and they figure out that there are questions they want to ask, but they never seem to figure it out until the last 15 minutes of the panel. Didn't you notice that, Unit 2? Mm-hmm. Like, the last 15 minutes is where the really, really, really good questions started coming out. And I was like, no, I want to answer all of your questions, but I have to clear the room because we're the last panel of the con, and everyone has to leave. So that was frustrating. I think I'm going to start putting my panel in for 2 hours because mine needs time for questions.
Yeah, it's always good to have a Q&A at the end, too.
Yeah, Unit 2 and I factor one in, and I think Revolution does, too. But all of ours are kind of very interactive, and I feel like that's what one of the biggest draws are, whatever. The thing that draws people to our panels is that they're very interactive, and they're not us just talking at you and refusing to answer questions the entire time. Like, the way it happened at Revolution was we would do a topic, and then we take some questions, then we do another topic, and we take some questions, and then we did the general questions at the end, and I feel like that worked super duper well and was really helpful, and people really enjoyed it. And people, I meant to tell Gaynor and Iowa, people have been messaging me left and right on Tumblr about how awesome Revolution of Ava was. They absolutely loved that panel. So
good job, guys.
We did something right. It was awesome.
You always know when you're doing right when the fans are excited about it.
All I did was sit there and drink coffee and, do the occasional thing. Like, I didn't do anything and people love it. Okay. Like, is this a process where I have to try to do less and less and see when people stop liking it? Because, like, you two seem to do more than I did, and it was, my panel. But,
I'm sorry.
No.
I hope too.
I'm actually happy you did. I'm happy you guys did because you guys were so good at what you were doing.
It's weird. We were having this discussion. This is the last I'm going to say because we've got other things to talk about, friends. But we had this discussion driving back from Anime Midwest. Like, it's so weird to me that Unit 2 and I have kind of found our niche. Like, everyone has a thing that they're good at. And it's kind of weird and surreal and a little bit disappointing that the thing that I'm good at is panels and anime because it's never ever going to pay my bills. Like, it's something I'm really good at, and I just want it to pay my bills. I'm going to become the next Yaya. Look out, world.
Hey, it could pay the bills eventually. I mean, look at like Nostalgia Critic.
Yeah, we're going to do editorials on Ava for people on YouTube. Oh, fantastic. All right, we'll look out for the hour and a half deconstruction of why I think episode 7 blows chunks. Anyways.
Is that Jet alone?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, before it gets off topic, I'm going to let us proceed with what's on our agenda for the day.
All right. Well, moving on to the first topic of big discussion here, we are going to discuss something that has been brought up a couple of times at different conventions that we've all attended at, and that is the possibility that Shinji and Asuka are actually half siblings. And Hunter, you had said you wanted to kind of rebuke this idea.
Yeah, right? I don't really see any grounding in it.
All right. Well,
just a real quick thing. This is one of the coolest things about the site is that these three people are very good friends and they harbor no animosity towards each other, but they don't subscribe to the same headcanons or fan theory. Everybody can be friends, even if you don't have the same headcanon or fan theory about Ava. This is cool. Everybody's friends. Everybody on this website loves each other. So yes.
All right. So let's start on the theory then, if that's okay. Well, the theory is that Gendo at some point possibly was cheating on Yui.
Wait, can I jump in real quick?
Oh, sure.
I just want to ask you, is this pertaining to the Rebuild series or the actual original television series?
This is original. This is actually really just kind of self-contained to End of Evangelion, to be completely honest, because there's nothing in 25 or 26 that would make anyone suspect that this happened. Based off what Unit 2 and I know of the manga, because we're hardcore nerds for it, there's no way that this would be possible there. And the reason why we think this happens only in End of Ava is because, first of all, you have to subscribe to the idea that every single way that Ava is derived is a completely different, part of the timeline. And I know a lot of people have always gone into the assumption that you should do 25 and 26 and End of Ava together as one big thing. I don't do that. I've always more subscribed that there's the original series and then at some point it breaks. 25 and 26 is its own thing and End of Ava is its own thing. So you kind of have to go off that for this to have a bit more, solid footing.
Okay.
As we explain this.
Right.
Basically the easiest way to, make this, work. And I mean, a lot of the things we come up with may not necessarily work, but hey, still fun.
Well, just to say this in a way to help you guys is that in episode 26, they have a whole multiverse theory where every person can create a universe to live in that is unique to them. We get to see the Shinji and Asuka living in a world where Shinji lives with his parents and raised a exchange student. And then in
the
EOE
for Angelic Days and Shinji Ikari Raising Project, I believe.
Yeah, and then in EOE, there's the live action sequences, which some of them were cut, but they represented Shinji at one point being a disembodied figure in a world that he never existed.
Okay.
So there is grounding that in one of those random far-off universes, there could have been something like Gendo hooking up with Asuka's mother, apparently.
Right.
Just to help you guys out on that.
All right. Well, here's the idea. Let me get to the idea here before everybody starts like, well, what the hell are we talking about?
Yeah.
the idea is that at some point Gendo may have cheated on Yui with Asuka's mother, thus creating Asuka, and this because of that it explains a few events that happened later on. One of them being why was Shinji choking out Asuka and during End of Evangelion is that he may have found out that because he gets all this knowledge of the universe, that he finds out through that Asuka is his half sister, and the whole idea that he kind of got off on her just kind of ruins him a little bit. The other thing about it, then this goes a little bit farther back, then is why did Asuka's mother kill herself? Because that's always been kind of one of those little bit of a debate things. And the idea behind that is that if Asuka's mother had cheated on her husband with Gendo and tried to keep it a secret in some way, and then Asuka's non-biological but married to her father, if he found out what happens between those two and just leaves her, and then because of whatever guilt, whatever feelings Asuka's mother had, she goes ahead and kills herself. But it's an interesting theory in the sense that I know, Hunter, one of the things you've always said is the timelines don't fit, but it's nothing that a few hours on a plane can't fix, especially when you consider that we don't know exactly where Asuka's parents were at any given moment. Just because Yui and Gendo came back to Japan doesn't mean Asuka's parents weren't there too. So
Asuka brought up something that I think helps this. That part of this theory is that at some point Shinji becomes God. This is kind of indisputable with how Third Impact works. But when we were doing my panel, Asuka came up with the idea of when he does, and I never had been able to pinpoint that. But do you remember when he takes the lance into him and turns into basically the giant tree-like thing with all the eyes?
Yeah.
That is when he becomes God.
Because he starts screaming because he's suddenly filled with the collective consciousness of every single human being that is, was, and ever will be.
That sperm ray.
And he knows everything at that point. And let's not also forget, when Asuka comes out of the chamber, that's not the first time Shinji chokes her in the movie. We have to remember right before tumbling down starts,
which is when he rejects instrumentality,
he starts choking Asuka. So this seems to be a natural a reaction to Shinji and Asuka from that point on. Is I'm Shinji and I would like to choke Asuka for reasons, and that is one of those reasons. Not to mention, when Shinji, with the shot of Shinji, if I remember correctly, he's looking at his hand, but you can see Asuka right there under him, and you can see her chest, if I remember the shot correctly, and then he gives the line, "I'm so fucked up."
Right.
It's not hard to think that because he's already got the door locked and he's already done this, and Asuka's not going to stop him, it's not the worst idea in the world to think that he may be pressing his lock.
Right.
I think we segued into a different theory.
Yeah, I think you went to the other theory there.
No. That's okay, but that's kind of why that's also part of it, because he doesn't know that he doesn't know that yet.
So
he doesn't know that they're siblings. He doesn't realize that they're siblings when he does the thing that he does at the beginning of EOE. And also does the thing that he is heavily implied to have done at the beginning of EOE.
And that's why his reaction is so bad.
Right, because he realizes how effed up he is in the head. Yeah,
at the end of EOE, when he chokes her, he realizes that what he's done at the beginning of the movie and what he has learned about what he and Asuka is leads him to trying to do that, because he just can't deal with having to look at her and know that, oh my God, I did this to my fill in the blank.
Okay, I have a thought on that, but I'll let you guys go.
I was gonna actually add on to that a little bit. I think just the entire shock of realizing what he has done, and then realizing just that life will just not let him win, and he just takes it out on the first person who happens to be there, which is his sister, Asuka. But expanding on that theory a little bit, somebody had actually brought this up to me at Anime Central this past May, was the possibility that Gendo, not including Shinji and Asuka, actually may have donated the seed to father the entire class. And the theory behind that is that because the whole reason that whole class is together is that they all have some aptitude for piloting the Evangelion. But when you really think about it, Shinji of the class, other than Rei, because Rei's the exception, other than Rei, Shinji is the most apt at piloting, followed by Asuka, and then it kind of goes down the line. So it's just in terms of the entire class might be involved, is how apt are they for Eva piloting? So it's an interesting idea when you start looking at it in that sense.
Mm-hmm. But I'm interested to hear what Hunter says, because I've never had anyone rebuff this.
Well, before I let Hunter rebuke this, I just want to make the other point that Sele would have had the means, the technology, whatever was needed to make sure that something like this happened, to get the best possible pilots.
And Gendo was still in Sele's their back pocket hard at this point. He had not deviated. He wasn't trying to do his own thing. He completely bought into what Sele was doing at this time. Still correct?
Right.
Okay. Now, Hunter, the floor is yours.
All right. So those are your theories on this?
Yeah, totally theories. And to be fair, I had a room full of people buying this too. So.
And here is why I think they were wrong.
Go for it.
First up, like Gaynor mentioned, the timeline for Asuka and Shinji doesn't really add up. I believe they have a 6 months difference in age. Gaynor did bring up that Gendo could have gotten on an airplane, but there are remarks that he was very busy working in Japan at the time while Asuka's parents were working in Germany, and there wasn't much crisscrossing with that. But
we also know that Asuka's mother is part of Yui Ikari's research team.
Also, Yui Ikari would have been dead at this point, because Asuka's mom didn't become a test subject for the Eva project until after Yui died, because there wasn't another option until, they didn't think to find another option.
Shinji was alive for, I believe, a few years before his mother died.
Yeah, Shinji was a couple of years old.
Okay.
Yeah, so Asuka would have been born as well. But also onto the Asuka's parents thing is trying to think on how to word that one. Whenever her mother was killed herself, it was because of the testing. They took her right out of the entry plug. There was a huge accident. What's usually accepted is that her soul was torn between the Eva and herself, and she had regrets on not being a overall better mother to Asuka. And she places this doll and pretends that it's Asuka, and even hangs herself with it, as if she were trying to kill herself and Asuka so that they could be together. I just don't really see any grounding on how that would make them Shinji and Asuka related. We actually do see Asuka's father later on. He's kind of a dick, though, because he chooses his stepwife over his daughter, mostly because his daughter is angsty and distant from others.
We see her father in the show or in the manga?
In the show, we do see her father. He kneels down and he's like, "Asuka, what's wrong with your doll?" And she's like, "I hate it."
Oh, I think I remember that.
Yeah, but the thing about that
we even see her grandma for a moment at a grave where she's like, "Asuka, don't cry," and she's like, "I'll be strong. I have to be."
So how I think about that is the fact that I think this is more in the manga than the anime, but after Asuka's husband left, and she got the, although this is a different theory then, because this is with Asuka's mother getting the sperm from the sperm bank rather than
through an actual person.
Right.
And regardless, Asuka's mother told her, like, her entire life that she was the best. Asuka was led to believe her entire life that she was the absolute best, and that everyone, like, her stepfather, I guess, or her mother's husband was bad, and that his family was bad and all of this. So then once her mother killed herself and she had to go live with them, she had to resign to the fact that she was being she had to live with these people who were lesser than her. And so that's where all of that comes from.
In the manga, I don't remember her mom committing suicide. I remember her saying that she was from a supreme egg and a supreme sperm mixed together, which is why she was perfect. And she grew up being raised by, like, the military, basically, and was told on how...
See, that only lends more to the theory that this is a possibility. The best egg and best sperm, combination might not have been Asuka's mother and Asuka's father, or Asuka, the man Asuka's mother was married to. It very well could have been Gendo and Asuka's mother, for all we know.
Well, for all we know in that situation, but that's crossing boundaries of, like, manga, anime, and rebuild.
Right, but then again, by that theory, potentially Asuka could be a direct sibling if it's Yui Akari's egg.
Yeah, but if that were the case, it'd be two Japanese people giving birth to a redhead.
It's rare, but it can happen. And for God's sakes, this is anime. I mean, Ray's got blue hair, for God's sakes.
So also, do we have to make the assumption that Gendo went to Kyoko? Or could we make the idea that Kyoko had to go to Gendo for some reason?
It's your theory.
Because we don't... do we have a definitive timetable on how long Kyoko is in the project?
We don't, as far as we know. As far as anyone... I don't know.
So the idea could be that they needed all their top people to go to Japan.
Well, I'm sure you could estimate a time period if you watched the... flashback episode where Gendo comes in and he's like, I've been working in Germany, and he talks to Fuyutsuki and gives him that card that said they were married.
Yeah, very true.
So that would pinpoint the time around when they started in Germany.
Also, I don't think it would necessarily take like a long period of time for, Gendo and Kyoko to do something. I've always just, kind of thought it was just a one-time thing and that was it. And then Asuka just happened because of it. Not like, not it's not the same kind of relationship that Gendo has with Ritsuko's mother or with Ritsuko. That's a long-term kind of thing. This could have just been one time and done.
Well, the thing with Gendo is I don't see his, like, sexual life as anything really romantic. I think he originally uses sex as a way to get other people to do the things he wants them to do.
Yeah, I agree with that.
To achieve his ends.
Because I think that's why he has sex with Ritsuko. I think that's why he had sex with Ritsuko's mother. And originally, I think that's why he got together with Yui, which I'll go into more depth later.
That's interesting. I haven't thought about that. If that was his initial intention with Yui.
Well, originally...
I think Yui was the first and only one that he was ever genuine with, and then he just kind of became disingenuous and a jerk afterward.
Well, if you remember, originally his interest in Yui were her connections. She was connected to Seele long before he even knew of them.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like to use alternate universe manga and stuff as any kind of canon to support, to counteract an argument like that. It is mentioned, however, in Angelic Days of all things, and I take this for what it's worth, that Gendo and Yui had actually known each other from childhood, and fell in love there. But again, this is Angelic.
Well, that's exclusive to Angelic Days,
right? So you got to take that for what it's worth. So, but for but again, it's one of those things where alternate timelines, anything can be different. It's just a matter of where does everything fit in.
It's sort of one of those things where it's like everyone who's a Kaoru fan takes things from what Kaoru did in the manga and carries them over into the anime.
Right. And considering Kaoru of all people seems to realize he's in different timelines, he might be the key to all of this linking together.
Well, especially after seeing Rebuild,
Right.
But again, I mean, that's another We don't know
That's
if
another
a sequel.
theory.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother theory for another
Yeah.
podcast. 'Cause God knows I could
White
talk-
Homura.
That's like
Yeah.
another 10 podcasts
God,
in a
let's
row.
not get the joke on this.
Yeah, but then as Iowa was saying about Shinji choking Asuka, is I believe that was more like moments prior to instrumentality. We see a lot of scenes of Shinji seeing Asuka and Rei and Masato in his mind. And if you go back to like episodes 25 and 26, they have instances of them saying, "This isn't me, this is the me that's represented in your mind." It's sort of like on how every person you meet and your representation of them isn't that true person. Their true self is only known to themselves. So the Asuka that Shinji chokes in his mind isn't the real Asuka. It's the representation that Asuka is to himself. So her reaction of saying, "No, I will not help you," might not have been what the real Asuka would have said. It might have been something different, but he thought that that's how she would have reacted.
So you think he's choking the Asuka that he perceives, not the Asuka that
Yes,
exists.
I believe that's the one that he perceives to be what Asuka is. Not
So you think that the choking is a direct result of that little segment, like during.
It's kind of the direct result of Shinji's mounting internalized misogyny toward every single woman he knows, and he just I don't know. By that theory, it's just his, because he imagines all the women to be evil because they're not giving him what he wants, even though what he wants is impossible. So,
I know what you're talking about.
He wants them all to miraculously know how to help him, but he doesn't want them to try to get to know him at all. So when he just has this incredible level of internalized misogyny, which I think probably comes from misdirected anger, where he should be angry at Gendo, but he's angry at his mother instead because he perceives her as having abandoned him. I don't know. I don't want to get into that, but
he's angry at his father plenty.
Yeah, but like his whole problem with all of the girls is that they're not behaving in the way that he wants them to, and the way he wants them to is impossible.
Yeah, well, it's an angsty teen. He doesn't understand mixed signals. It's like everyone's fault, but it's no one's fault. Asuka, she's very abrasive, but it's how she shows affection. But to Shinji, that's her attacking him practically.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
It goes back to the
Guys.
whole. Sorry.
Sorry. We can get more into the psychological aspects of what's wrong with Shinji. Another time.
All right.
We got to move on to the next thing here. I believe Hunter was your theory about Yui Ikari.
Yeah, I had a theory about that Yui had more of she was more of a puppet master than what most fans believe her to be.
All right.
Beginning back when Gendo was imprisoned in jail, he goes and gets him and he said, "You must know some people with connections to have gotten out of this one." And if you think about it, Yui may have asked Seele to get Gendo out of jail because she knows her plan all along is going to be she needs to have a child that can pilot Ava.
Okay.
But why they choose Gendo though?
The theory behind that being that any
because-
progeny of Gendo can pilot an Ava.
Well, no, it's because Gendo had I'm trying to think, like aspirations to actually go further with the cause of instrumentality. Had she picked someone like, let's just say Fuyutsuki, he was too moral. He would have cared too much. He would have stopped the project. It never would have came to fruition.
So with that stream of thought, do you think that she intentionally destroyed herself in Unit 1?
Yeah, I believe she knew that this was going to happen all along.
See, now I can see that as a plausible solution to why she decided to do the project. Because there's like hints to actually give that, as a way for her to sort of, like, she's the one that's running the project the entire time.
So you're saying she intentionally sacrificed Shinji as to be a pilot, and in turn sacrificed herself to become an Ava.
Well, I'm not.
Yeah, well, the whole idea of her making the Ava was to leave a mark that humanity was there. They always existed.
Now that points back to EOE, where she does kind of go on this conversation with Shinji when Instrumentality is going on, or after Instrumentality, where she basically tells him, like, I will be here forever and all that stuff, and how her being inside the Evangelion was there sort of to be alongside him when going through his turmoils.
Another part of that is that I believe that she was the one who spearheaded the Ray clones for the Dummy Plug project, because she didn't want her son to be put into that danger. And if you look at the clones' age, they age as fast as a normal human does. So the clones would have been created well before Yui's death. Around the time of Shinji's birth, actually.
But then the question is, why would the clones be of a 14-year-old Yui Ikari?
Well, they weren't 14 at the time. They would have been infants. As you saw with Ray 1, that was killed by Ritsuko's mother. She came out, she was the same age as Shinji.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And that would have been because Yui started the cloning project prior to her death, knowing that they would take a lifetime to grow.
Interesting. So
these people are fucked in the head. Can we just agree on that one?
It's Ava. What do you expect?
Yeah, so no kidding.
The question I have now is, why would she do this?
As I said before,
is she this mastermind?
As I said before, she wanted to leave the mark of humanity that it's always existed.
That's right. Which she says as EOE is winding down, you have like the petrified Ava Unit 1 just floating through the cosmos.
Yeah, and that's the portion of the film I was referring to. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's standing in front of it, which is still a really creepy, little scene.
It's like, so long as the sun and the earth are still around.
Yeah, I'll be there. Or
thing like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sounds like a bad song.
I'll be there.
That's an interesting theory. Where would Sele factor into this, though? Like, would she be the one that's working with Sele in the beginning?
Maybe
I believe that
she'd be the head of Sele.
She was working with Sele in the beginning. And there is also a side theory that goes with this. And this is because of Rebuild 3.0. I don't know if you guys watched it or not.
Yeah.
If you've seen images, Gendo is wearing Keel's visor. Or visor-like Keels.
Yep.
As we saw in EOE, Keel is hooked up to many machines, possibly keeping him alive. There's a possibility that each Keel is a Gendo from a past universe of the continuation.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, this is getting crazy now.
Oh.
See, when you put
that just blew Asuka's mind here.
When you put that on the form, I thought you were kidding about this, and now that you're not kidding, oh, for crying out loud. Really. A Keel is just, oh my god. Well, doesn't this ties into the whole, Kwaru is reincarnated Shinji's idea that we thought of,
I believe that Kwaru is a clone of Gendo as Rei is a clone of Yui. Except that Kwaru is mixed with Adam while Rei is mixed with Lilith.
That would explain something that I thought of randomly at Anime Midwest. Okay, so when everybody, when all the characters started, getting tanked, that, there's Rei, and then Rei turns into whatever they want, except for poor Aoba, who just gets the Rei army.
He gets scared, yeah.
Yeah, so why does Gendo get both Rei and Kwaru?
I believe that you see, what will appear to you. I don't know if it's exactly your loved one, but it's what you'd want to see.
So Gendo wanted to see Rei and Kwaru as he died, and he's giving his monologue about how he feels bad about doing all the things to Shinji.
Well, I think Rei and Kwaru essentially would represent the beginning and the end. Where Rei is the beginning of all things because she is the reincarnation of Lilith, and then Kwaru being the representation of Adam, being the end.
Oh.
Because if Kwaru were to meet Lilith, then the end of the world happens. and Gendo essentially wants to see that as, everything beginning to end. He wants to see how everything is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's his overall goal.
Well, and also in the Rebuild series, I believe that Kaoru actually says something about good to see you again, father, or something like that.
I think he says that to Shinji, but it's not father. It's like we meet again.
Oh,
something like that.
When he's when Fuyutsuki and Gendo go up to the moon, and Kaoru is sitting, I guess I forgot where he's sitting, but he's like out in the open and on the moon.
He was sitting on a giant finger. Yeah, I remember it. I just can't remember what he said exactly.
It was some reference to it's like it's good to see you again, or like
something like that,
alluding to the fact that they had met before. So welcome back from the technical difficulties. We were talking about Yui and how she's a devious mastermind. And I remembered something in the manga, and I just looked it up. Near the end of the manga, there was a whole segmented bit where Shinji was remembering something from when he was little. It was him and Yui walking, like after going to the pool or something. And there was something important that Yui told him that he had sort of shut away, that he had forgotten about. And I just found when he finally realized what it was, you will be the one who protects the happiness of all the people in the world. Mm-hmm. And
I think that's in the anime as well.
Is it?
I believe so.
It's a bit different. She says it like while she's breastfeeding him, but she's talking to Fuyutsuki.
Okay.
I think because the manga at this point was later than the show and EOE, I think they tried to make it a lot clearer.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff. But it does lend a lot.
It does show that she had this pre-planned, like all along prior to Shinji's birth, really, even.
Like the whole point of Shinji being born was to save humanity.
Yes.
And Fuyutsuki knew this before Gendo. Fuyutsuki with the Yui before, right? They met Gendo.
I was gonna say, wasn't Fuyutsuki Yui's like professor or something in college?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fuyutsuki almost seems like he has this kind of like when they show all the flashbacks. I can't remember if it's Rebuild or not, but when they show all those flashbacks of Yui and Gendo and like their budding romance, Fuyutsuki kind of has this air of like, you don't know what you're getting into, dude. Like, I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I feel like Fuyutsuki kind of tried to warn Gendo that Yui was bad news or something. Not bad news, but just that she was a little bit more.
Wasn't Fuyutsuki trying to warn Gendo trying to warn Yui that Gendo was bad news?
First of all, it was the original series. It's the Kaji kidnaps Fuyutsuki episode. And secondly, it could be either way, to be completely honest. You could consider that Fuyutsuki is trying to warn Yui that Gendo is bad news. But on the other hand, if we're going to go off what Hunter is saying, perhaps he was also trying to tell Gendo in some way that, hey, Yui has, something about her, because doesn't she openly admit, oh yeah, I'm working for Sele? It's like, secret societies don't work if you're just going to blab about it. Like, hey, yo, dog, I'm working for Sele. Oh, I'm working for Sele over here. Look at my pin, dog.
Gendo finds out that she's working for Sele, which was part of his agenda, and he tells Fuyutsuki about it, and Fuyutsuki's like, don't fuck with that, man. And Gendo's like, I'm doing it, brah.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't Fuyutsuki at some point I'm not sure if it's an original series, but I know it's in Rebuild. Doesn't he admit that he is in love with Yui?
He doesn't have to say it in the original
series.
In
Evangelion, he does something like that, where he just sees her.
Like in Neva, I know with the whole incident of the Rays and the Tang, because Fuyutsuki ends up seeing Yui, and then Tang happens.
Well, it's again, Kaji kidnaps Fuyutsuki. When he finds out that when he's going on the nature walk with Yui, and he's like, "You're dating who?" He has just like this incredible, shock that this is happening. And if you just go based off of that episode alone, it's like, oh yeah, he's into Yui hardcore. Like you can see that coming from a mile away.
All right. So I mean, basically we're under the understanding that Fuyutsuki's got a boner for Yui.
Yeah, that's like I think is without saying.
Yeah.
In 3.0, I think he even tells Shinji, "It's like I wanted to bang your mom."
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh,
is that exactly verbatim?
No,
It's
Not
a bit of
Probably.
a
it's the simplification of what Fuyutsuki gets in there along
the
with all the
Funimation
other.
dub.
and there is something in 3.0 at that moment he hands Shinji a photograph of his mother holding him, and to the right there's a girl that looks an awful lot like a mixture of Mari and Asuka.
Yep.
Who's wearing a flannel and glasses.
Yep.
Well, you know what?
And-
Are you talking about Rebuild?
Yes,
Yeah.
in 3.0.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? As long as we're bringing up Mari, why don't we get into that a little bit? You know, we got the time here.
All right.
Okay. I've actually kind of been working with this theory, and this has actually become a bit of a popular theory amongst fans, is the idea that Mari in the Rebuild series, what her origin is. And on Hunter, you and I have a little bit of a differing view on this.
Yeah, they're similar, but we have like different points in it.
Yeah. My idea was that Mari is actually Asuka's mother and the original test pilot, because what we find out in Rebuild is that Eva pilots don't age.
Mm-hmm.
The curse of Eva. I'm sorry.
The curse of
It's
Eva.
called the curse of Eva when they don't age.
The curse of the Evas.
It's a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah,
Boy,
I
is
feel like
what
it's a writer's convenience.
It's a writer's convenience, is what it is.
Let me explain this a little bit and how this all kind of works into this. One thing is that we don't really know Mari's true age. It's never stated that she's 14. It's never stated, where she came from. The idea being that there's a distinct possibility that, Mari might have been part of the original research team of Yui Ikari. It might have been an intern or something, which at 18 years old is completely possible. So Mari could very well at the time be trapped as an 18-year-old, which would, why she'd be a little bit more developed. We'll just say, than like Asuka or Rei is. The other thing about that is during the course of the Rebuild films, we actually do see a picture of Yui Ikari's research team, and there is a girl in there who has a very striking resemblance to Mari.
Exactly.
Almost to the point that it could have been her. Now, who is this girl? We don't actually know, but it's the possibility that she could be Asuka's mother because she has some sort of intimate, knowledge of Asuka and Shinji, almost to the point where she kind of messes with Asuka a little bit, where she's just kind of toying with her a little bit, and it's just kind of it almost seems like she's doing it in a motherly way. So I've always kind of just felt that, if Mari is, the trapped in age, Asuka's mother, and the other thing about this is, I know we've all said, Asuka's mother dies. In the Rebuild films, I don't believe we ever see the scene of Asuka's mother dying.
Because it doesn't exist. And again, you can't treat the original series, Kyoko and whoever Asuka's mother might be in Rebuild as the same person, because, one, we have more evidence to know who Asuka's mother is in the original series, and in Rebuild, just like Mari, we have nothing. And I don't disagree with you, but I just feel like that because there's such little that we know about Mari, I feel like this is just, people looking for something.
But that's
there's more in the manga, and this is kind of crossing the streams a little bit more.
I remember when I was in the car with Kamal and I pointed this out to him, and it was really funny.
There is some speculation that Mari actually did appear in the manga, because when you talk about Asuka's mother's ex-husband and how he went and found some other woman and had a baby with her, that child looks remarkably like Mari.
Like, has brown pigtails and glasses and a headband.
Jeez, that's all we need. So Mari is essentially what Asuka's trying to be better than, is what you're saying.
Like Asuka's mom literally points at the little girl and goes, you have to be better than that girl. And even if it doesn't end up being Mari, it's interesting that Asuka sees so much competition with her, because maybe she sees that girl in Mari, whether it's actually her or not,
Well, and it's just another thing.
I was going to say, well, that kind of. Well, I mean, we can't take take this with a grain of salt, but regarding the end sequence after the credits of Rebuild 3.0, you kind of see this combination of Ava units.
Oh, the Frank and Ava, as I've dubbed it.
Yeah, and that could kind of lead into that theory of them actually being, maybe half sisters or something, and that's why they're able to link up to one another.
I put no stock in that simply because of what happened after 2.22 with everything there, and then we got nothing.
I swear to God, if Mari ends up being Asuka's half sister and Shinji ends up choking Mari out, I am just gonna throw up my hands.
Here's the thing: someone at my panel actually gave the suggestion that the reason why they did that with 2.22 was that's going to be another series that's going to be in that 14-year gap that explains everything.
I don't believe that.
I don't buy that.
I don't think Gynax or Kara would give us something that like spoon-fed,
Or they could do a series that in that 14 years and give us nothing that explains anything, but still make us want to throw money at them.
Well, if you look at the pre-production for 3.0, they actually had a couple of rewrites, which kind of delayed the actual film getting completed and released.
Yeah, that's what I heard. During that period, they thought about doing that, but then during that period, they took it in a different direction.
And there's a lot of rumors regarding that writing period where the third film was actually supposed to explain Mari, and it was just supposed to be about her mainly, but then they scrapped that, and then they just kind of went with the whole we're going to go reiterate the television series.
Well,
every time we talk about the rebuilds, I like to say that I am withholding all judgment about the rebuilds until 4.
Oh God, I can't even imagine.
I agree.
I'm afraid to find out what happens with 4.0. Also,
I'm not. I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited too, but I'm still worried.
Going back to Mari, I have a theory that differs a little bit from Gaynor's. It's that Mari is actually a clone of Asuka's mother, as they were possibly going to be used as a dummy plug system for Unit 2.
My interest has been piqued. Go on.
The theory goes on that she hasn't been mixed at all with any angels. So she hasn't been mixed with Yui or not Yui, with Lilith or Adam. So this explains why she doesn't have a lack of pigment or any eye color changes, and her hair is the same. So this could possibly just be a clone, just not a mixed clone, just a regular clone of Asuka's mother.
Is that why she took the place of Asuka at the...
Yeah, this would explain why she can pilot Unit 2.
Yeah, okay.
And also, if you look at the situation of each of these, the Karu, Rei, and Mari, on how they were brought up. Rei's brought up by Gendo, so she acts very stock, emotionless. Karu's brought up by Sile, he's very cloak and dagger, sneaky. Rei's brought up by Kaji. She's very playful and...
Sorry, you said
flirty.
Rei.
No, Mari's brought up by Kaji, and she becomes very playful and
flirtatious.
Flirty, yeah.
Especially with Asuka.
If you look at it that way, it somewhat makes sense,
That's my ship.
Any thoughts on that?
That sounds like it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, you really went in depth there. Did you write this stuff out?
It's going off the top of my head.
And I'm just over here sails the SS Shikinami illustrious into the night.
So you think that they just want their final intention, at least in the rebuilds, is just to have clones piloting the Avas so that they're completely replaceable?
Well, I'm sure that would have been a thing, because
rebuild episode.
If you have one person who can pilot a giant multi-million-dollar robot,
billion, be real.
Yeah, billions,
trillion, be real.
Well,
trill.
Well, it would explain the idea. This would be sort of
you would want backup pilots,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And also
the dummy plug system.
realistically, using 14-year-olds is kind of a war crime.
I think they realized somewhere between 2 and 3 how stupid using 14-year-olds was.
Then they made them 28-year-olds.
I thought it was stupid that they were using them when I watched the original series. Like,
so do I, but
well, everything about them saying that they had to be 14 was it was apparently a cover-up lie. And the true reason was because the souls of their mothers were inside the AV units.
Well, see, once we get to that conclusion, it's like, okay, this is still a stupid idea, but at least it has a reason why. It's not a good reason, but it is a reason. Also, also F Jet alone.
Yeah, I know.
I just realized something, and I just realized how much this other show I'm watching is ripping off of Ava, and it just totally blew my head.
What show's that?
Which one?
Every show.
No, this is the whole idea of somebody being the soul of the machine. This other series I'm watching called M3, The Dark Metal. It's not very good, but just the idea is that people become the sole basis for linking inside of a giant robot, and it's essentially Ava. Now that I just realized it,
we could do a whole nother 4 hours on how every
Ava's
show after
influenced
Ava
other shows.
What is it with you and bad anime, dude? Really? Come on, you gotta stop doing that.
dude, you know the reason why.
Well, unless it's for your other project, you shouldn't be subjecting yourself to this stuff.
I went into it with the best of intentions, and now it's going to become panel fodder.
Oh, well, is this still? You still subjected yourself to this stuff.
Can we go back to the clone stuff again?
Let's get back to the other stuff.
that was really cute. Was that Ava Mania? Can we go back to the clone stuff? Yes, we can, you precious baby. Let's do it.
Said some Star Wars fan that's about to get his head kicked in.
Come on, guys, be serious. I'm just a kid.
Can we get back to the clones?
I want to talk about clones.
Okay, more clones.
Okay, so Kaoru's a
All
clone. Right. We all know that. Is Asuka a clone or what?
No, I don't think Asuka's a clone, but Mari is a clone. And Mari is a clone of Asuka's mother, is what I'm trying to say.
So Shinji is not a clone. Asuka is not a clone. Rei is a clone. Kaoru is a clone. And apparently Mari is a clone.
According to this theory, I believe that Mari is a clone.
I don't think Kawaru would be a clone, though.
They have a whole, dummy plug system
they
that they
showed
put
him
in the MP units.
in a Kaoru aquarium. Like, they didn't show other Kaorus, but they had him in it, too.
Yeah, there's a cow. Yeah, there's
If
a
you go back to
Kaoru
original
aquarium.
series, they show Shinji in the aquarium so that take that for what it's worth.
Did they? I think that...
Yeah, but they have
They
those.
did. It was a stream of consciousness thing.
I think that was.
They had a Kaoru on the moon, remember? In the coffin, Dracula style.
But for all we know, Kawaru is Homura from Madoka, and he's just time skipping.
Oh,
That's a whole other
Other
thing.
wife.
Here's an idea.
One thing is, I also think that this Kaoru from this rebuild universe is one of the Kaorus that was inside the MP units that would have landed near the moon. They were all floating in space.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Now.
Also, the Ava unit on
This
the
just turned
moon.
into a 3-hour podcast.
Also, the
love
Ava
this
unit
idea.
on the moon, I believe, was Unit 1 that was floating in space.
So Hunter, you subscribe.
so you
think subscribe to the clone or the rebuild being a sequel theory, right?
Yes.
Like the next loop in the cycle?
Evangelion Attack of the Clones.
I don't know if I would. I don't know if
The
I'm going to
circle
consider.
being broken.
I don't know if I consider Rebuild to be a sequel. It's definitely a different, path on the timeline. But who knows what the order is? Because we could have the order completely wrong. Also, I now have a parody of Whalers on the Moon from Futurama with Kaoru going in my head. Thanks, guys. I needed that right now.
Yeah, I always
Woke
I
you
always
up, man.
thought I always thought of the rebuilds as a branch rather than another loop in the cycle from the show, just because Rebuild 1 is an exact copy of episode
I've always wondered
7.
what if the rebuilds are cycled before the original series?
Are you
Which-
thinking
which-
like an Edge of Tomorrow type vibe
Yeah,
where it
almost.
keeps looping over and over until they get it right?
Or
Yeah,
I don't know.
well,
I
they're-
don't know. A Madoka vibe.
So at any
No,
moment,
Madoka has an Ava vibe.
Also, at any moment,
Asuka introduced its own Kaworu, for God's sake.
Yeah, at any moment,
that was an awesome movie, by the way. Sorry, go on.
Professor Farnsworth is going to come through and shoot Eleanor Roosevelt by accident as the Ava, universe keeps repeating itself. Don't ask how he got there, but he's just going to show up and do it. Oh no, I got Eleanor Roosevelt instead. Oh my.
Well, okay, so there are a couple theories here. The first one, which I really like, is the Ava is a story that repeats.
Yep.
Which the idea that this happens and then it happens again and then it happens again, each sequentially, one from the other.
I think that backs up the Gendo is actually Keel in each universe, and he's trying to actually fulfill instrumentality so that he can be joined with Huey.
Yeah. Also,
that thousands of years apart or so, however long it takes, I guess, to restart a universe.
Also, with that idea is the idea that Kaoru retains his memory every cycle, and so with that, it wouldn't be unreasonable to think that other characters didn't retain something every cycle.
Yeah, including we don't see Sele in the rebuild films. We just see the monoliths. And also, they seem to know that Kaoru is a clone or something.
Well,
they'd be the ones spearheading these projects, so I'm assuming know everything.
Yeah. Wait, didn't Sele go and come on? Or I mean, I got to lean on you for this because you're manga geek like I am. When they go to get Kaoru to send him to Shinji in the manga, don't they have to get him out of a tube to do it? Don't they wake him up and it's like Tavros, it's your time now?
I think so. I think they do show him in a tube.
I think it's
sort of his version of the Ray Tank.
Yeah, it's his version of the Ray Tank, and I think it's like the 5 members of Sele that you saw human forms of in the original series that are the ones that go to Kaoru and be like, it's your time, and he just opens his eyes and he has that like smile on his face, like acknowledging, all right, let's do this.
Well, couldn't the idea possibly be that Kaoru might be a clone, but it was more of Sele's attempt to create an artificial angel?
Oh yeah, that's what I always assumed. Is that it was their attempt at making an angel. And
they weren't trying to make a pilot; they were trying to make an angel and force instrumentality.
Well, I mean, he can do the whole pilot job too. I mean, that's just kind of thrown in there just for giggles. But yeah, that's not his main focus. But he can do the job anyways. Because I mean, hijack Unit 2, go down a long corridor, nearly end the world.
Gotcha.
And he's more like an actual pilot in 3.0. Which, as opposed to, in the original series where he just hijacks Ava Unit 2 and just uses it to fight Shinji, whereas in 3, he's actually like a pilot and, not a bad one at that either.
Well, there's reasons for me being a pilot in 3.0, but let's not spoil those for people who haven't seen it yet.
But I want to spoil everything.
Yeah, let's not, considering Funimation's been dragging their feet about getting this thing out.
Yeah, we know
I think it's more Kara than Funimation.
It's not Funimation, it's Kara's fault.
Well, whoever's fault it is.
It's Kara's fault. They want a dub closer to their original version, air quotes here. And unbeknownst to me, when I went to Midwest, and P.W. Hodges, who is another awesome member of our forum, was dropping tweets from Manga UK about this very subject, saying, oh yeah, we're getting UK PAL release dates for February for 3.33, and the rage began.
That's almost like a year after the original intended release date.
It is.
Well, considering
originally intended to be released in October.
Yeah, there's a dub that exists for this thing. I've seen it.
Yeah, they put it out in theaters.
I talked to 5 people at the very least in the Midwest that said the same thing.
Who's seen the dub here, though?
I have.
So
I've seen both.
Now, do you guys have any idea like where they would want to change? Like what part of the film they would actually want to have it be more to the original version?
I haven't seen the original. I don't.
It's been a while since I've seen the sub, and the problem is I would have to compare to a fan sub. So I mean, you have to take that for what it's worth at that point.
Hey, Yanor, do you remember Bane from last year at ASIN?
Which one?
The big fat black dude Bane, who was at our panel. Do you remember him? Had the Blackhawks lanyard around his neck. He was at Midwest, and he told me that he saw this stuff. He loved it. He thought it was great. So he's not really sure why this delay has occurred all, out of nowhere, it seems like.
Did he say that all in, like, the Bane voice?
No, he did not, because he wasn't dressed up. No, he wasn't dressed up as Bane. No, he wasn't dressed up as Bane. He was actually dressed up as the mechanic, or whatever you want to call it, from Team Fortress 2.
That's somewhat disappointing. I was just imagining this guy doing the Bane voice talking to you about Evangelion.
Evangelion, Batman.
Well, to be fair, in his tool belt, he did have a pen.
That's amazing.
Yes,
awesome.
Yes, it is.
Pen makes everything amazing.
Oh, Lordy.
All right.
So, unfortunately, for those of you who are listening to this, don't expect Ava for a long time. Start crying now.
Yeah, I think. So I think we've covered pretty much all the bases that we've gotten. We've got the idea of what's Mari's origin. We've gotten the whole Yui thing, and we've gotten the whole Shinji Asuka bro sis thing. So
hope you've learned a lot.
I strongly disagree.
So yes, I think we can all agree to disagree on certain points, and you know what? I think it's safe to say that this is not a bad thing, and by no means will we ever stop talking about stuff like this. But we also we want to encourage people to come to forums.
One of the things about difference in opinions is that it breeds discussion.
Yes,
and that's one of the things that Ava's about. Like,
I was going to say, what other series do you know in anime that you can do this with anymore?
Detective Conan, but that's another story.
No.
Death Note.
No, Detective Conan doesn't count.
It really goes to show we're still talking about Ava. It's been almost 20 years, hasn't it, since the original?
I was in kindergarten whenever Ava came out.
Yeah, I was 40. I was in high school when I started watching this. That was 99. So it was only 4 years after the original, release in Japan.
So we're talking about, this is a series that has been around for forever and a day, and we're still here discussing and trying to figure it out. So I think that's a testament to how well Ava has stood up against anything.
And people are still going to panels about it.
And this is why we have the rebuild films coming out, because people are still interested. And holy crap, now we have more to discuss.
Yeah, and also I think the reason why people go to panels for Ava, like the ones we do, is because there has not been anything there for them to do. And they're Ava fans. They're not necessarily Ava fans of the magnitude we are, but they're still casual Ava fans who are like, I like this series. I want to know more. And bam, I fill their supply.
Well, I think it's safe to say I think we can end it on that. So let's just go ahead and wrap it up. Of course, I want to thank everyone on the panel: Unit 2, Asuka, Hunter, Iowa, and Ava Mania. And
we love to be here.
Yeah, I know you guys love being here. We encourage everyone to come visit us on the forums at rebuildofevangelion.org. If you like the podcast, if you like any of the stuff we've talked about here, come by, say hi, talk about this stuff, bring it up. Heck, share with us any of your crazy theories, because maybe they'll make it into the next podcast. We don't know yet. We still haven't figured out what we're going to do. So anyway,
the other thing, if there's anything you want to hear in the podcast, let us know, and we'll try to work it in.
We want suggestions, people.
Yeah.
God, we don't. It takes us a little bit to come up with this stuff, but god dang it, we want to hear from you. Also, just really quick, and I know we haven't mentioned this yet. This podcast, other than being available on our site, is now available on iTunes.
Ooh, yay!
It's available on iTunes finally. Thank God. I've been trying to get someone to actually listen to it.
Yeah, so you can search the Dummy Plug podcast on iTunes, subscribe to it, and it will automatically be updated to your iTunes account. It's completely free, so you don't have to spend any money, which I know we all love, and it makes everybody's life easy. I just I need to give a big shout out to our good friend Gyron, who has made the new logo for the podcast.
Yay!
Yes, he is the illustrator of Bleach. Happy to serve you.
Yes, which Hunter is one of the co-writers for.
Ooh, nice.
Actually, I do write all of it.
Oh, you do write all of it? I thought Gyron had input on that.
Somewhat, I guess. Most of it's me writing.
Yeah, that's a I do everything. Get banned.
I just write, he draws. It works out pretty well.
And he gets all the money.
Oh my God, Armadurgan.
Okay.
All right. let's wrap this sucker up, guys. My name is Gainer79 for the Dummy Plug podcast. Hope to see you guys next time.
Bye.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.